Welcome everyone to the Commission on Ending Homelessness meeting for the month of April. I hope everyone, we don't have any minutes. We didn't have a meeting last month, did we? Okay. So I guess we can just move on with the agenda then. So Sharika, you're up first with the permanent supported housing acquisition on Burton Street.
Thank you, Alan. So, let's see. There we go. So, I'm coming to the commission today to get approval and to give them a heads up on the permanent supportive housing acquisition that has taken place. The city has, sorry, I have to sneeze. The city has purchased 635 and 639 Burton Street. The purchase was approved in City Council in March 2024 for $776,000. This is a 10-unit, 2-bedroom, 1-bath apartment. It's located in the Northwest Ward. This is going to be the first COC-based the first COC project that is project-based permanent supportive housing vouchers for families. It'll have on-site case management, and of course, those project-based vouchers will be tied to the unit. So if someone moves out, the voucher will still be tied to the unit, which will increase the spending that we have in our permanent supportive housing programs. The eligibility for these programs would be individuals with at least one disability and those who are chronically homeless. Right now, our prioritization is set up that if there is no one that qualifies, no family that qualifies for that, then we are able to move on to families who are literally homeless. So that is the basic eligibility. Permanent supportive housing is housing with long-term rental assistance and supportive services that are attached. So those supportive services will assist individuals with sustaining long-term housing. So a request for proposals was issued for the management of the property, including case management services. This is the property here. For case management services, including property management. And there was only one proposal submitted, and that was from the Bethesda Center for the Homeless. So we are looking for approval to go to City Council to move forward after renovations and rehab in June to sell the property for $1 to the Bethesda Center for the Homeless. They would take over the property management, the case management services for these project-based units, and start to move families in, hopefully in August of this year. So that is the first part that we have for the commission to discuss.
Okay, so first of all, I guess, is there any discussion or questions?
The people moving in, would they come off the by name list, or would they have to stay at Bethesda to be eligible?
They will come off the by name list.
And Sharika, did you say it's permanent supportive housing and then families? Help me understand what that was. It's for families, or
it's for families, only families, and it's permanent supportive housing, project-based permanent supportive housing, meaning the voucher is tied to the unit, not the individual.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem.
Anyone else? Okay, so it looks like we're looking for a motion to go to the City Council with Bethesda Center, managing this project and transferring it for $1. Is that right, Sharika?
Yes.
So could we have a motion for that, please?
I'll make a motion. Take it to the City Council.
Okay, thank you. So do we have a second?
I'll second.
Thanks.
Karen can't second.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Can I second? I'll second.
You can't second either, Jay.
Okay.
It has to be a
second.
member.
Be a voting member. That's right. Sorry.
No problem. I wish.
Can I second?
Yeah, Alan.
I'll second.
Melissa.
I was just gonna say, I think I just was talking over someone, but I can second.
Okay, good. That's okay, Sharika. So I think you're still up with the Foldham project.
Yes, so our Fodem units, this is another act of going to city council. So these are, these units, we had the creator of the Fodem units come on March 5th to do to bring units so that we can do a mini tour of what these units look like. So these units go for a price of about $7,000 to $9,000 each. They are 2-bedroom units. So there's a personal bedroom on each side. So they're non-congregate units. There's a 1-bedroom on this front side. And then if you were to go to the back of the unit, there's another door to another bedroom. So we are asking to go to City Council again in May, the May 14th Finance Committee meeting, and then for a final approval on June 3rd. This is just to collaborate with the engineer and design team. So to release a request for qualifications so that we can identify city-owned lots that would fit the design and surveying for these units. So we're hoping to get 10 Fodem units, which would serve a total of 20 households. Sorry, this says 10, but a total of 20 households because there's 2 units in each Fodem. And the property would be used for the purpose of non-congregate emergency shelter. With the NC building code regulations, these properties do have to be either taken down every 6 months or moved to a second site. So we're hoping to find an engineer that can find 2 locations. So instead of them being torn down and we have to wait a whole 6 months before putting them back up, we will have a summer site that will run for 6 months and then a winter site that will run for 6 months. Units are collapsible housing units that can be deployed and set up with relative ease, and they begin at 156 square feet. They do collapse to a height of 18 inches, and this is kind of similar to the pallet shelters that are currently being used in Greensboro. We will have to also purchase a shower truck. We have been looking at shower and laundry trucks that qualify for HUD funding and also local funds that could be utilized for this. So we are looking to purchase a shower and laundry truck that will also be on site with these units. These shower and laundry trucks, the ones that we have looked at so far will have the 4 shower components, 4 bathrooms, as well as the laundry room that will hold 2 washers and 2 dryers. So it's just, at this point, we are only asking, going forward to City Council to ask that we are able to release a request for qualifications. And that is to be able to find an engineer that can tell us what plots of city land we can actually place these units on and still be in NC building code regulations.
Any questions or comments?
The housing units have to be moved every 6 months. Would the shower truck be permanent to its location?
No, it would have to move with the units.
Is the
Any
idea
more?
that you could have like 10 people at one site with a shower truck and 10 people at another site with a shower truck, and they could just flip? Since they both have to move every 6 months?
They have to be moved every 6 months. So there will be a summer location where the units will be on a site for the summer. Let's say site A will be for summer, site B will be for winter. Now, after the summer, they will be cleaned and reset up at the winter site, which is site B, and the shower truck will be moved there as well. And then that way we are still within the building code regulations. But we also don't have to take a break on the program.
I was just thinking if it works, we try it and it works well, we could double the amount because you could run winter and summer, but just move them.
Yeah, just switch them. Yeah.
Maybe next year.
That's a good idea, Jay.
I have a question. What is the foundation like? Because I'm concerned about things, events like thunderstorms, snowstorms. What is the foundation like? Is it stable? From from this picture, it doesn't look like there's much of a foundation, if any.
They are very stable. They are weather resistant. So they are usually built for things such as workforce housing, things such as emergency disasters and things of that nature. So now they are just being transformed to be used for non-congregate and congregate shelter options to assist with the rise in homelessness.
Anybody else?
And do we already have these items purchased, or right now we're just the very beginning step?
We're in the beginning steps, so we have to first find the land to make sure that we have somewhere to put them and things of that nature. And then based on how many, we're hoping to do 10, but based on what the engineer says we can do, is kind of where we would go. But we're hoping for 10 to
Okay.
start.
Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, so Sharika, you may have to help me with this, but we're looking for a motion then for a request for qualifications for an engineer to find, I guess, 2 plots of land that meet the requirements. Is that
Yes.
okay? So can we have a motion for that, please? Take it to the city council.
All motion.
Thank you, Melissa. So can we have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Renee. Okay, so Sharika, you're still up with the update of the point in time housing inventory chart.
Okay, so Laura could not join us. So she did send her slides over. So here is our housing inventory chart. So this shows the emergency shelter bed utilization. So how many emergency shelter beds were utilized on the point in time and on the night of the point in time count. So the point in time count is the night where the COC collaborates together with various other agencies, and we count how many individuals are experiencing homelessness on that given night in the community, and it's done in January. So on the at the night of the point in time count, Bethesda Center was at 94% with a total of 94 beds being utilized. And we have Salvation Army, which shows 36 beds being utilized at a utilization rate of 67%. With them being a family shelter, they do have rooms, and based on the number of individuals in the family, that count can, each room can be filled and it can be a 74% bed utilization rate. It's just tricky depending on how many members are in the family and how much space they need in those rooms. Samaritan Ministries, there were 53 beds that were filled with 76%. Family services, so the standard bed inventory for families with children is 24. Families with young children often share beds or utilize cribs and bassinets as needed, which can lead to a utilization rate that is over 100%. So they were completely full during this time. And then we did still have our emergency placement vouchers that were being utilized. So these vouchers are utilized when there is, for instance, a couple and there is no couple space in the family shelter, or a family is located and there's no additional space for them to be enrolled. So those motel voucher program was at 97% with 113 beds being utilized, 116 beds being utilized. And then 113, I'm sorry, beds being utilized. And then last but not least, the Citywood Dwellings, our white flag shelter, which was open on point in time count night. And that opens usually when temperatures drop below 32 degrees. And they were at 23 beds filled that night out of the 40, so 58%. The point in time count numbers that we have for this year, so they have wrapped up counting, so not as much preliminary as it was at first. Our unsheltered numbers have jumped from 2023 at 87 to 2024, we're looking at 211. So that unsheltered population has grown tremendously over the last year. And then also those who are residing in shelter has also jumped up from 309 to 391. So the different projects such as those like the Foldham project and those permanent supportive housing projects is really going to try to target that population that is sleeping unhoused. And then you can see just how those trends have increased far as the unsheltered. The sheltered numbers from pre-COVID have went down, but they are still rising since 2021. And then this is just a comparison of the sheltered and unsheltered again, that preliminary count. So it also shows that transitional housing model. So how many people were enrolled into that transitional housing? So places like the Veterans Helping Veterans Heal program, emergency shelter programs, also comparing once again that unsheltered program, those unsheltered individuals. So using that by name list in our street outreach to see how many individuals were actually sleeping outside. And then at January street outreach count of 276 is where we currently are. So that transitional housing is 27. The January street outreach count 276, our unsheltered population at 211, and then 364 is the emergency shelter. Any questions in regards to this information and the updates on the numbers for those that are experiencing homelessness in the community?
Does that pre-COVID number possibly change? Because during point and count time, pre-COVID, City with Dwellings was running 6 shelters, as opposed to now they're running only the emergency shelter. Do we think that, or are we just not speculating that?
So the speculation is that there were more beds before COVID. So when COVID did happen, some shelters did decrease their bed counts. So and there was more shelter beds available. So the housing inventory chart does show that there was a decrease in beds. So that could be why that there is that decrease in the shelter count. And that is all I have.
Thank you very much, Sharika. One question on that point in time count. Does Laura and do they now break that down further into demographics and things like that? Okay.
Yes, now she's going to break it down, demographics, age, length of time, and dive even more into it.
Okay, great. Thanks. So, Deb, I guess you're up now to talk about the proposed action teams.
Yep. I emailed out a little while ago which you got it a few days ago, because you're on our general list as well as this list, but I wanted to bring it back to the top of your email. So I sent out the proposed action teams that the executive committee worked on last week, some ideas. I sent it out for review by the entire COC. I have received some feedback from 4 or 5 people, and I've had 1 person volunteer. So some comments I got back was someone said, I didn't see EMS or mobile integrated health included. I'm not sure what exactly this person is discussing. I thought, and then she said, we work close with all the entities that serve the homeless and connect them to the number of resources. We'd like to do what we can to help. That was from Laura Smith. And then Sarah Arthur, who works at Novant Health, she's the director of community health over there. She covers several areas in North Carolina. She actually lives in New Hanover County. So she said the COC here in New Hanover County has 1 additional committee called the Ranking for ESG applicants and NOFA funding, which we have the rating panel. They work on revisions if needed to the applications for funding, as well as scoring applications. That was her thoughts on it. Daniel Joyce said he thought they look great. And Rick Hall commented that he didn't see any changes and thanked us for our work. So that's all I've gotten so far. But let me hear what y'all have to say about it. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, or ideas, or thoughts.
Looks good to me. Now we just need some people.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
that's right, Jay.
right, yeah, and I thought I wanted to send it out separately from the volunteer because I wanted to get it in place before we ask for volunteers. So I was looking, doing some research on what other COCs have for committees and action groups, which are action teams. I love that name, Sam. And so something that I noticed in a couple of them is they have a diversity, equity, and inclusion committee or action team. So we might want to think about that. Another one was a youth action team, focused on youth. But I wondered, since we don't specifically have any shelter specifically for youth, that I didn't know if is it something we want to have an action team for to develop a program like that? I don't know. That's something we could discuss. Another one was an actual lived experience advisory action team separate from people serving on each of the action teams. And then I wondered if we just needed to include veterans somewhere in there. So those are some ideas or things that I kind of stood out to me as I was doing some research on this. And so those I would like to put up for discussion. Thoughts on that, any of those?
Would the person with lived experience advisory committee be the same group that Jose already runs though?
As what?
Caucus? Can't we just?
I'm not sure. We'd have to probably talk about what we would expect from them or what they would expect from as serving on that advisory
Mhm.
committee. I think
Yeah.
they're like separate.
Yeah, there would be some overlap.
Mhm.
There would definitely be some overlap.
Yeah, instead of creating a second one, giving them a little more, I don't want to say power, but involvement, because it feels like we're here and sometimes they're over there and we
Right.
only go to meetings when we need to. So having them more involved within the COC, instead of creating a whole second group.
I like that too. Well, plus if you have it, that gives them more meetings they have to attend and whatnot too. So that's never a good thing. Okay. What about the diversity, equity, and inclusion? What do we think about that one?
So I actually think that the lived experience group like excites my soul. But I think it should be ran by somebody with lived experience and people who are also living the experience now, and then maybe include the youth there so you don't have a separate youth program until you actually have a youth program. And I hate DEI, but also I understand the need for it. So I think it's necessary to have that conversation, knowing the Winston-Salem that we live in.
Right, with the disparity we have in the number of homeless and all the other programs and whatnot. I think it's, but
right now, a lot of the DEI training that HUD does is through the HMIS administration training. So do you think adding that a part of the HMIS groups, a sub part of that, so that they have the data and things like that? Because usually when they have the DEI is part of the data trainings that we attend at the same time, but making it like a subgroup of them or a totally separate group.
Well,
I don't know if we want to have like 15 groups.
Right. No, right. But I want to make sure we have the right groups. I don't want to actually leave one off when we should have had it or, so that's why I brought up extra ones. But I also, to me, just me, myself, I think DEI goes better with community engagement as opposed to HMIS. I see what you're saying. I mean, that's where the trainings are. But if I was to think of DEI, it would be under community engagement, not HMIS. But, so because but community engagement is a year-long program, some of them like they work on the pit count, so that doesn't begin until August. So they could definitely be a subgroup of community engagement. or be part of community engagement to limit the number of groups we have if we think that that one's not important enough to have its own.
It's definitely important enough to have its own.
And I also think some communities weave DEI into everything else. So you make it as a standing agenda item for every other team. It's all needed, and it's all
Right.
matter of figuring out how to not duplicate.
I like that idea, Jay.
But it also takes deliberate attention, because
Mhm.
everything takes deliberate attention.
Right.
But we could think about, how do you apply a diversity, equity, inclusion lens to all of our actions, all of our functions, and how, because it's like Renee said, it doesn't make sense to me to only put it in HMIS or only put it in community outreach. There are implications for everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of the reason why I hate DEI though, is because it usually gets added to everything with the hope that it will be intentional as a work assignment, but then it's just usually like a checkbox. So did we say
I hear
happy
you.
Martin Luther King Day or something, and then we don't, then that's like our DEI assignment.
Yep.
It doesn't usually get the attention that it needs if it's not separate work with its own thing.
I think, Jay, like you said, now that I'm thinking about it, it's part of it in each section. So with HMIS, the only reason I said put it in HMIS because the racial equity and lens training that Laura got certified through that. We had to go through that because we were the HMIS administrative leads, and that's how you break down the data, things like that. But also in the group that's going to be doing the matching, they would need to have that portion in them. The group that's doing community engagement, of course, their main focus is bringing new agencies into the fold, bringing new individuals into the fold. So having that diverse group of individuals at the table. So it's going to hit so many groups that having it alone, I'm not sure how we'll do it alone and make sure that everyone's also integrating it at the same time. So I think, like he said, integrating it at each point would be important somehow. How, I'm not sure yet, but somehow integrating it at each group.
I like the idea of lifting it up to the larger body and seeing if there's interest. Because I think that when we say these are the committees, if no one volunteers for the committees, then we have issues. So I'm if there's a lot of interest in the diversity, equity, inclusion committee as a standing entity, then that answers some of it. The issue with integrating it into other places is that no one just carries the work and is always accountable to carrying that work forward, unless, there's ways, but it gets tricky.
So how would they work along as a standalone committee?
Like the other committees work.
No, like what type of work would they be doing?
They would bring, that's for the committee to determine, yeah.
We were determining the roles and responsibilities of the committee.
Well, what are they doing in other communities?
Hold, please.
Mm-hmm.
So it's in Tucson, Arizona. I tried to pick things around the country. So it wasn't just, it's in Tucson, Arizona, and it's they're responsible for collaborating with the COC board and lead entities to plan and coordinate equity initiatives within their COC, with particular focus on issues of racial equality, LGBTQ plus inclusivity, and citizenship. They review existing and proposed policies and practices, recommend strategies to increase representation from diverse stakeholders, and prevent structural of systemic inequities prior to new policy adoption. They collect and analyze quantitative data regarding equity and inclusivity within the local homelessness response system. They issue recommendations to improve equitable outcomes for all populations served through the local homelessness response system to the COC board. And then they also collaborate with COC lead and collaborative applicant and HMIS lead to issue periodic reports, at least annually, on efforts to address equity and inclusivity within the homelessness system response system and the outcomes of those efforts. That's just the one in Tucson. I mean, I was thinking there was one in Wilmington. No. I thought I read one in another city, but anyway, must have been something else. If they had the same committees as another city, I just didn't keep it. So, what do you think about those responsibilities? I mean,
It's a lot.
so basically they just give an overview of how things are going along those priorities and educate. Add it onto the list, see what happens, see what people think. If we don't have enough volunteers to serve on these committees, we might have to loop it back into community engagement or something else. Okay, so is that the only other one we want to add on? For sure.
I think Renee, like Renee mentioned, adding youth somewhere. We don't have any youth programs, so we do have youth experience in homelessness. So
Yes, we do.
adding that in somewhere.
I agree. It's a big issue, and we're missing their voice, that transition between when they're in child welfare and then when they move into adulthood, like that, those databases don't talk to each other and they disappear. If we can figure out how to start pulling that crew together, that would be very helpful for our community.
Mm-hmm.
I was saying add it into folks with lived experience, instead of creating its own thing, since we might not know how many youth we have, since we don't have any programs that target specifically youth. Or even call them that, because you have to be a certain age to get in the shelter and you're still a child, but you're considered an adult.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Well,
I guess that's
street outreach.
yeah, back to the youth just a minute, of course that, and someone said in chat, that's kind of a definition. So I guess what we're talking about is minors, but youth could also be ages 18 to 24, which is proposed, in the, so there has to be some kind of definition there of, what we're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the HUD definition of transition age youth is aged 18 to 24. It's called TAY. So transition age youth is 18 to 24.
Okay.
So I think if, like Renee said, if we had it under person with lived experience, and then I know at one point, I think I talked to you about it, Jay, what we were trying to do is fill slots. So maybe I'm having someone that can represent that transition age youth group, or having someone that represents that group, and then having someone that represents families, having someone that represents singles, so that we're not always just having single individuals that take up the whole group. And we're not hearing feedback from families that are experiencing homelessness, youth that are experiencing homelessness, veterans and things like that, but making sure that we are very adamant about getting people from various different walks of life.
And Renee, did you have your hand raised?
No, I was cheering Sharika on because that is exactly what needs to happen. I was hearing from one population, like homelessness, it doesn't work that way. It doesn't affect people the same way, especially if you're homeless and it's just you compared to homeless with 3 children or a disabled spouse or a dog. I don't know. But it's a different story for people, and we don't always get that different voice.
Yep, good points. Okay, and like I said, someone brought up veterans. Do we want a separate group? I think veterans have a lot of. Do we need a veterans group? Do we need to add them in somewhere?
I say, like we said, persons with lived experience.
Okay. All right. Thanks for the input. I'll send out a revised list for people to review and see what kind of feedback we get from that before. And then we'll talk about it, once we get more ideas and thoughts and put it all together. I'll send it out and get more feedback, and then we'll have something more ready for people to maybe vote on by the May 14th COC Council.
I have an idea. What I can do is at the homeless caucus, I can make an announcement for participation in the COC, and
Great.
maybe somebody will step forward.
Yep,
But
that's great.
I would have to specify, okay, this is what we are, this is what we do, here is what is required of you. And I'm going to work on a proposal. I'll email it to you. You can say yes, no, needs more work. And then I'll present it at the next homeless caucus meeting.
Well, yeah, and we can co-present because you'd already asked me to talk about that too.
Exactly, yes.
Okay.
Thank you, Sam.
All right. I guess that's it for me for today.
Thank you, Deb.
Mhm.
So Jay, you're going to cover the updates on the governance charter.
Yes, and Deb, do you want to share the charter? Is there anyone who wants to put it up on the screen, or we don't necessarily need to do that? It was emailed.
It's 15 pages if you want to just pull it up at your own email.
Okay. One of our tasks is we are actually requested to review and update as needed the charter every year, and I think that hasn't happened probably for quite a while. So a number of folks on the executive committee of the COC Council have looked at the charter and recommended many updates. So what has been shared with you is a draft, and the main changes really are to make many of the day-to-day function and flow pieces of how the COC can work, to let that rest with the COC Council instead of with the commission, and to have the commission really focus on advocacy, on key funding decisions like Sharika just mentioned, some bigger policy kind of pieces, but to have less that needs to come to the commission for input as a way to allow the COC Council to be able to put more things in process quickly. So that's a big piece of the suggested change. We originally had an operating cabinet, so we have now done away with that operating group. So now there are 2 groups. There's the COC Council and the Commission on Ending Homelessness. And some pieces we do together, some pieces the council does, some pieces the commission does. So any questions or thoughts about that? I think it was just shared today. I'm not sure if everyone has had time to take a look at it. But we would ask for it to be discussed here and for the council, the commission to approve. And if the commission approves, then we would also take it at the next meeting to the council, the COC Council, for them to approve.
I think most of the change, well, besides what you just said, a lot of it is just language change, like changing taking out operating cabinet and things like that. Most of it is just sort of semantics changes as opposed to actual governance changes, you know. That's what I mostly went in and changed a lot of continuum cares to COCs and stuff like that. Fixed grammar and
Any questions though? It really does define like who can be on each group. The COC council is open to anyone in the public. The commission the meetings are open to the public, but to be a voting member of the commission, there are 5 slots appointed by city council, 5 slots appointed by county commission, and then 5 slots from the COC council. So the voting membership is very different. The definition of that is different. But it really just outlines duties, it outlines everything. So if we ever have questions, who does what when, all those kind of details.
So Jay, what you would like for us to do is review it, everyone got it, review it, and then at the next council meeting, agree to the improvements or
like we could, if the commission also needs to vote to approve. So that could be at this meeting, if people are comfortable with that, or next meeting, if you prefer to wait, so people have more time to digest it. Either way, I do have one correction, I think. Deb, I'm not sure who's the holder of the document at the moment, but on page 11, section 5,
okay.
It still says,
say page 11.
Page 11, section 5. This is the section of what are the responsibilities of the COC council. And section 5 says the commission in partnership with the administrator shall evaluate. And I think this was one we had put into the section of the COC council. So that could be a joint task, or that could be a council task or a commission task, but I think it wasn't meant to be a commission only task. So I think that one might need to be revised, maybe.
Section 5 here.
Page 11, section 5.
Yeah.
Unless you all think that outcome evaluation really should only be a commission task. I'm not sure what it has been in the past.
I think it's stay with the commission only because so many of the ESG recipients and COC recipients were part of that.
Part of the council?
Yes. I wonder if this is a part where that performance evaluation team would just present to the commission and the council. Wasn't it one of those teams, or did I just make that up? I think it was one of those.
I'm reading it right now.
I think Laura's on it, but that team, when they do that performance,
the data. Yeah. See, now I didn't put that on our list of teams because we knew we wanted specific people.
Yeah.
We felt like specific people had to be on it. And so that's why I didn't include it
on the list.
But I think that would be a good point for them to present to the council to tell us what's on and where we are. And then also the commission to keep them in a loop as well.
So that one in particular, outcome evaluation. So that one, I'm hearing the suggestion we should make that a joint task, commission and also council. Like number 3 on this page 11, it says the commission and the COC council. Like that's an activity that we both need to do, both groups independently, so that we're on the same page. So maybe the same thing with evaluation. Make it not an either or, but a both and.
whatever y'all think's best.
Does anyone else have any other ideas or suggestions? Just feel like it's important to for all of us to go over this charter every year together so that we're clear on who does what, who can vote, What are terms? How do people get appointed? To me, that's also a piece of a DEI approach, is that we're clear and transparent. So no one feels like, oh, she got on because that's her friend, or she's voting when she shouldn't. You know, that all needs to be real clear so that we're fair and honest with everybody.
Agree.
There are also for both the coalition and the commission, excuse me, and the council, there are procedures to remove somebody for bad behavior. It doesn't say bad behavior, but there are procedures on how you can remove someone if they're acting in a way that actually prohibits improvement in the community. So all of that is really spelled out. It's just really important to have it clear and in writing. So does anyone want to make a motion to approve with the recommended changes to section 5, page 11?
There's only 2 or 3 people here who can do that.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I can second that.
Thank you, Ms. Renee and Ms. Melissa.
Okay, great. Okay, so thank you, Jay.
So do we need to vote over, like, do we need a vote now that they've made the motion?
Well, okay, let's do it this way. Is there anyone opposed to accept this as it is? Okay, so sounds like to me, Jay, that it carries.
Great. So you've agreed to approve this charter with the change on page 11, section 5, so that will reflect outcome evaluation, will be a responsibility of the commission and the COC council together.
Right.
So Janera or whoever has the copy, if you would please change that and update the footer that has the draft and the date of today, so that when it goes to the next COC council meeting, we have the corrected version, and then hopefully it will be approved there, and then we'll come back and share it with both groups.
Yep.
There's no more approvals, Jay, I didn't think.
Oh, well, I think
Commission does, I mean, the council doesn't have to vote on it?
The council went first.
I don't know. Okay. I think we should, I don't think that they did,
The council's supposed to review before we take it to the commission.
but I don't know that we did because we were still going through drafts, but maybe we did. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
So-
we haven't been council for about 3 months. 2
That's
months.
We've seen it multiple times. Thank you for the reminder. So I think that I've done it. Okay, so
I'll
You've
make
been
that
working
change.
hard, Jay, so.
I'll make that change and just review any other wording, like if I find another COC, you know, those kinds of things. Again, and then I'll send it out.
thank you. So then, Deb, I encourage you on the first page to say ratified by the commission and the COC council, April 2024, and put the final, updated April 2024 in the footer.
Okay.
Thank you. Yay!
Thank you.
Details. That it's really important to be clear. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you for your advice.
Thank you for all your work, Jay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really. Okay, does anyone else have any other business or announcements or anything to bring up? Okay, well, great.
Yes,
So-
yes, I do.
Okay, Sam, go ahead, buddy.
I have a question. I don't know if I should bring this up at this meeting or at the COC meeting. Either one, that's fine. But I'm doing kind of like a preliminary announcement at this time, and then maybe I'll go into greater detail at the COC meeting. But I walk around the downtown area a lot, and I was just wanting to know if there is any way that in addition to getting funding for the homeless, that we can get entrepreneurial grants and do a downtown revitalization so that Yeah, we've lost in January. We lost the CVS on downtown 4th Street. We lost Camel Pond about late November of last year. We lost King's Market in just a couple days ago. We lost the Clubhouse, which is a men's barber shop, and we're losing businesses. And I was just wanting to know if there is any way that we can do some kind of urban renewal with entrepreneurship grants.
Sam, I'm sure there must be a commission, a city commission on revitalization or, something like that. Sharika, are you aware of anything like that?
There is a separate commission. I will have to look on the city's website, but that's outside of my scope.
It just seems like everything is so separated and bureaucratized. And that's how
Because it is.
Because it is. But Sam, I think that's a great idea. And I think Sharika's saying that exists there's a function that serves that.
Yeah, it's not us.
I think they're also, I think that's a great idea. I also know,
I love your thoughts behind it.
and I know also downtown in the Innovation Quarter is the small business incubator. I can't remember what it's called, but in North Carolina, through the whole community college system, there are small business support centers, and Winston-Salem, Forsyth County has one, and it's not out at Forsyth Tech, it's downtown in Innovation Quarter. So anybody who wants to start a small business can join that, and it's free to join, and you get all kinds of help and lots of guidance on how to set up your business structure and where to look for seed money, all that kind of stuff. So I think a lot of those things do exist. It's just a matter of finding them.
You have my email, correct?
I think I do.
Okay, sagawsnc.com.
Okay.
I can send it to her.
Okay.
Just email it to me, please. Thank you.
Okay, I will find that.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Sam. Does anyone else have anything?
I hear some lovely birds chirping. I don't know if that's a phone, but it's making me want to go outside.
It's really pretty out today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sharika, I just wanted to say, I hope you're hanging in there. It's already Thursday. You made it this far.
Yes, one more day, Karen.
One more day.
Friday
One more day.
Eve.
One day.
Okay, so if there's nothing else, then we'll adjourn the meeting, and our next meeting is May 16th at 2:30 in the afternoon. See everybody then.
Have a great weekend, everyone.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.